Hello writers, I'm Elijah Lee with Script Pro, and today I'm going to break down how to write a screenplay. Cue that intro. The basics of writing a screenplay are simple, and most people can go from learning to doing in an afternoon. The steps are simple. Learn how to format your script for the spec market. You're a screenwriter now, so ditch Microsoft Word. Please, for the love of all things that are good, get a hold of some paid or free screenwriting software. It'll save you a lot of trouble, trust me. Master your concept and how to write a logline with our ultimate guide, which you can find on our website at screenwriters.com. Get to grips with how you write a screenplay outline. Immerse yourself in our blog category on how to write a script, dialogue, and characters, also on screenwriters.com. But that's all fine and well. But you want to move beyond the basics, right? The difficulty lies not in writing screenplays. Anyone can do that, like I said before. Just like anyone can write a song or paint a picture. The difficulty lies in learning how to write a screenplay that blows other people away when they read it. Way too many aspiring writers stop at the basics of formatting and rudimentary characters and scenes, and fail to do the most important thing of all when writing a movie script, which is pushing their imaginations as far as it'll go in order to blow the reader away. The screenwriter who truly learns how to write a script are the ones that push their imaginations in all the areas of the screenplay. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do in this video, via 5 steps that most beginner writers and even some intermediate writers skip over. So without further ado, how to write a screenplay. Step number 1. Lay a foundation for your craft. Commit to your screenwriting. You're not going to get very far if you don't take it seriously, and be prepared to put in the work. Read great screenplays. Download as many as possible. You can find our list of 50 of the best screenplays to read on our blog at screenwriters.com. Or if you want to know how to write a screenplay for TV, we also have 50 of the best TV scripts to read as well. Read screenwriting books. The best screenwriting books out there will acquaint you with a wide variety of screenwriting theories. They all more or less say the same thing, but in a different way, and you should absorb them all. Make a list of 20 movies you'd wish you had written and rewatch them. Make notes on why you love certain scenes, pieces of dialogue, characters, etc. As you go, immerse yourself in the classics of cinema by watching movies on some of the best movies of all time lists. Write outlines of movies. Writing a script outline of a movie as you watch it and then breaking it down is an essential part of learning how to write a screenplay. If you want to learn how to do it, grab a copy of our free structure hack PDF from our website. Do all 5 of these things continuously every week for 6 months, and you'll already be leaps and bounds ahead of every other average aspiring writer. How to write a screenplay. Step number 2. Start thinking about how to push your imagination. So let's start with an overview of exactly how you do that. Many aspiring screenwriters study screenwriting theory to death and write every day, and yet still produce scripts that feel underdeveloped and secondhand. That is, they produce material we've seen before, or it's original, but hasn't been pushed as far as it could go. Instead, everything remains in kind of a safe area, in which the writer feels most comfortable. The writer who really learns how to write a screenplay that will help them break into the industry, is the writer that can also unleash their imagination onto the paper. They're the ones who give us something different that we haven't seen before. Let's take a look at how to do this by, and I cannot stress this enough, learning to never be satisfied with concepts, stories, characters, and scenes that feel flat and predictable. How to write a screenplay. Step number 3. Push your concept as far as it will go. A particularly common fault of spec scripts is that the core concept, the overall idea behind the story as laid out on the logline, isn't big enough. Many writers have good ideas, but fail to really dig deep into their imaginations to really turn them into something truly great, original, and that will blow people away. For example, there have been a lot of films involving vampires living among humans. There have been countless of films about young lovers not being approved by their parents or by ex-hitman coming out of retirement for one last job. So, if you're going to write about these subjects, your concept must bring something original to the table while doing so. For example, let's say you want to write a movie involving a familiar setup. A family struggling to survive a post-apocalyptic world that's populated by monsters. The script logline might be something like this. In a post-apocalyptic world, a family finds itself locked in an epic battle against a horde of man-eating monsters. Now let's take a look at how a recent movie approached the same overall idea. In a post-apocalyptic world, a family is forced to live in silence while hiding from monsters with ultra-sensitive hearing. This, of course, is the logline to A Quiet Place, and all the writers did was put a twist on the concept by giving the man-eating monsters ultra-sensitive hearing. This leads to the idea of a family being forced to live in silence as the only way to survive. And voila! You have a much more original concept. The post-apocalyptic world isn't original. A family that's threatened by a horde of monsters isn't original. But now the concept has a hook because the protagonists are being forced to survive in a way we haven't seen before, by not speaking. I cannot stress this enough. How important it is to nail your initial core concept and story and make them as compelling as they can be before you start writing. We have a logline analysis and synopsis treatment coverage service in which one of our pro writers can give you feedback on your logline and/or treatment. Not to keep plugging the website, but it is a crucial service on your screenwriting journey to have an actual pro writer be able to look at your script. How to write a screenplay, step number 4. Push your characters as far as they will go. When you think of your favorite movies, you're probably often thinking about the characters in them rather than the concepts behind them. For example, much of what many people love about Raiders of the Lost Ark is Indiana Jones himself. If he was an unsympathetic or boring character, we wouldn't care as much if he gets his hands on the Ark before the Nazis or not. Well, we kind of would because Nazis, but you get my point. Many aspiring screenwriters consistently create characters that fail to stand out as unique personalities on the page. Rather, they end up as stock characters or facsimiles of all the characters we've seen on screen before. Imagine a character-based script about an idealistic defense lawyer, intent on reforming the justice system, one whose life unravels due to a very bad choice he makes regarding a client. A writer who hasn't properly learned how to write a script by pushing their imagination as far as it can go might give him the following character traits. Idealistic, he wants to change the criminal justice system. Helpful, he goes out of his way to help others. Friendly, he gets on well with his colleagues. Funny, everyone laughs at his jokes. Hardworking, he's the last one to leave the office, etc., etc. In other words, kind of a bland blob of a person. We can imagine a lawyer/protagonist like this in a spec script not being particularly interesting because there's nothing original or surprising about him. There's nothing here that will make us remember him long after the credits roll. Now, think back, or if you haven't seen it, watch Roman J. Israel Esquire. In this film, we also have a protagonist, Roman, played by Denzel Washington, who's an idealistic defense lawyer, intent on reforming the justice system, and his life unravels thanks to a bad choice he makes regarding a client. But Roman's character is pushed beyond the obvious to create a protagonist who's truly original and surprising. Here's a list of character traits we can attribute to Roman in the movie. Idealistic, but this is to the point of obsession. He's pushed away any kind of meaningful relationship in his life in order to pursue his goal of reforming the system. Helpful. Yes, he's always lending out hands to his friends and strangers, but again, this is to a fault. He puts others' well-being over his own, and this is what makes his helpfulness more interesting. Socially awkward. Having spent years behind the scenes at the law practice, he's hardly a people person. Subsequently, he somehow manages to rub most people he meets the wrong way. Humorless. He's the kind of guy who makes people laugh without realizing he's being funny. Loner. His career has always come first, so consequently, he's reached a late middle age without a wife or kids. All of this adds another layer of personality to his character. Compare this list with the previous list of the bland lawyer traits. The second one obviously makes for a much more interesting lawyer. The stock character of the idealistic lawyer has a spin put on it, giving us someone we have not seen before in a movie. Push your imagination when it comes to your characters, then push them some more. Firstly, take a look at your protagonist, your antagonist, and your stakes as they stand. Are they the kind of characters you can imagine the audience talking about for years to come? Do they excite you as you write them? Are they unpredictable and flawed? Do bad things happen to them because of their flaws? How to write a screenplay, step number 5. Push your scenes as far as they would go. The same thing that happens with characters will happen with scenes with aspiring writers if they don't push their imagination when it comes to writing scenes and sequences. Events and situations feel familiar, like we've seen them before. Characters feel safe and in control of events, and often we're able to predict exactly what happens next. Take the classic example of a cute meet, in which a romantic couple meets each other for the first time. And let's say the scenario is this. Setup. A young man and woman meet and fall in love while on vacation and friends. They meet somewhere obvious, like at a bar or a beach. The guy pursues the girl, and maybe she finds out they're on the same flight back home. On the plane, he actually swaps seats so he can sit next to her. Once they return home, he calls her a few days later, and she reluctantly, but secretly, is happily. Now, watch or rewatch the opening scene to the drama Take the Waltz. This film is about a young woman named Margot who is happily married to Lou, but falls in love with an artist named Daniel while on vacation in France. Take a look at the opening scenes and see how the writer takes this age-old concept of a cute meet and makes it something imaginative and original. In each of those scenes, Margot just doesn't happily run into Daniel in a cafe and have a great time. Rather, each scene puts her under pressure in a different way. She's made to get involved with the reenactment. She's heckled by Daniel. She riskily pretends to be injured and in need of a wheelchair. She's teased by Daniel and caught off guard by her emotions. This is how we write a screenplay, by putting our characters under pressure and by pushing yourself to surprise the audience every step of the way. Now, before we wrap this video up, I kind of wanted to end this with a FAQ, frequently asked questions. Question: how do you write a screenplay with no experience? Just start. As the old saying goes, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Familiarize yourself with the basics of screenwriting as outlined in the beginning of this video. Then, once you know what to put in the script, learn how to write a screenplay by implementing the ideas outlined in the rest of the video. Never stick with your first idea, push your imagination, and never be boring. Question: how do you start writing a screenplay? This one's a little more subjective. It depends. Some writers start with an idea/concept and formulates this into a log line. Others start with a character or a set of characters, or even theme or vague idea about the kind of issues they want to write about. Figure out which method works best for you and get to brainstorming. And with that, writers, you're on your way to beginning your screenplay writing journey. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and make sure to ring that bell. Also, while you're here, your screenwriting journey never ends. Click right here to see some more videos on the channel. And if you want an affordable way to have a professional screenwriter look over your script, I said it before in the video and I'm going to say it again, check out our website at scriptreaderpro.com. This has been Script Reader Pro, and I'll see you guys next time.